Hi, I'm Erik Voss, and Dr. Sleep is an upcoming horror film adapted from Stephen King's 2013 sequel novel to The Shining, following Danny Torrance as an adult. And the movie's trailer shows some spooky imagery from director Mike Flanagan, creator of The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix, and recreations of Stanley Kubrick's haunting visuals from his horror masterpiece. So let's break down this trailer shot by shot to explain what this story is and how it connects to both King and Kubrick's versions of The Shining, which were until now totally separate. Spoiler warning in case my speculation ends up revealing too much about the movie, I will avoid the major revelatory plot points from the Dr. Sleep novel. Okay, here we go. Alright, these opening shots introduce us to Danny Torrance, now going by just Dan, played by Ewan McGreggor. Friendly words show up in chalk on his wall. Hello there. Because his psychic powers, known as The Shining, have returned after years of suppression from alcoholism. Dan now attends AA and works in hospice, thus his scrubs that he's wearing. He's aided by a psychic cat, and he can sense when someone is about to die, comforting them in their final moments and earning him the nickname Dr. Sleep. Like Dick Halloran from The Shining, adult Dan now forms a telepathic bond with a child, Abra Stone, played by Kylie Curran, who might be the source of these friendly messages. But then the message changes, reflecting red rum in the mirror, a nod to Danny as a boy writing red rum, and his mother's lipstick to reflect murder in the mirror. But here it's interesting that murder is what's written on the wall and red rum is reflected in the mirror. Perhaps this is reversed because Dan is on the reflected side of this communication as the adult, with Abra as the endangered child now. Next clip.
Just talk to the kid.
You're magic, like me.
Okay, here Dan meets with Abra and explains how The Shining works. Now, in the book, Dan settles in the town of Fraser, New Hampshire, because pretty much all of Stephen King's stories are set in the New England area, all within a short drive to Derry, Maine, the setting of It, and a location that shows up in a lot of his works. I could also see this movie just relocating the story to Derry, since the It reboots have been so successful for the studio, and along with other King reboots like Pet Sematary, the studio may want to build out its Stephen King cinematic universe. Yeah, stop rolling your eyes. King was in many ways the creator who made the whole idea of interconnected stories and Easter egg references to his other works so popular. Okay, moving on.
I need you to listen to me. The world's a hungry place. A dark place.
Hi there.
I only met 2 or 3 people like us. They died.
In this section, we meet the villains of the story, the True Knot, a cult of quasi-immortals who also possess the shine. They feed on what's called steam, the name of the psychic essence produced when people who also have the shine die in horrible pain. And their main target in this movie is Abra. Their leader is Rose the Hat, played by Rebecca Ferguson, and we see her breathing steam, or maybe it's a reverse shot of her sucking in steam from this victim. This could be an early scene in the film, the classic trope of a blonde beauty getting murdered in the opening minutes, like the beach blonde of Jaws and the one in It Follows. There actually could be another horror homage with this other True Knot victim, the little girl picking flowers by the waterside, similar to the girl in the iconic moment of Frankenstein. Kids never pick flowers alone. You're either gonna drown, or get your life force drained, or get shot by Carol. Next clip.
When I was a kid, I bumped into these things. I don't know about magic. I always called it The Shining.
Okay, here Dan recalls his experiences in the Overlook Hotel, with this movie recreating the exact visuals from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. Danny on the big wheel, rolling over that iconic carpet pattern, room 237, and of course, the woman in the bathtub. Now, the original film only showed brief glimpses of Danny's point of view in that traumatic experience, but here, the woman only appears as a corpse, as opposed to the young and sexy illusion that Jack saw when he went in there. Now, there's a documentary about The Shining called Room 237 that goes into a ton of crazy conspiracy theories about about the movie and what it really means. One of them suggests that that yellow border matched the frame of Jack's mirror as he stared at Danny in a different scene, which they're saying is a subliminal message by Kubrick that Jack saw his son as a sexual object and that he was abusing him. But hey, over-analytic tinfoil only makes sense when we do it. It is odd for the Dr. Sleep movie to include visual references to Kubrick's Shining because Stephen King has been very vocal about Kubrick's film misinterpreting his novel. Even though pretty much everyone else in the world thinks the film is one of the scariest movies ever made, Stephen King even went as far to shoot a TV remake in the 90s that was less well received. Either way, Stephen King wrote Dr. Sleep as a sequel connected to only his literary version of The Shining, not to Kubrick's film. But it sounds like director Mike Flanagan collaborated with Stephen King on which Kubrick images would be okay to include in this movie. So with King's blessing, Flanagan really is the best guy for the job. Haunting of Hill House was horrifying. There were hidden ghosts standing in the background of a number of scenes. I kind of hope and don't hope he does that in this movie. Meanwhile, Room actor Jacob Tremblay is rumored to be playing Danny in these reshoots, and all of these Shining visuals were reshot, but apparently they're using Kubrick's original footage of the blood gushing out from the elevator. Next clip. Okay, some more creepy imagery here. Someone who looks like Abra gliding up a grocery store aisle, and then cornfields is just giving us some Children of the Corn vibes. Now the music here is a pipe organ blasting a cover of Dream a Little Dream of Me, the Louis Armstrong Ella Fitzgerald song. It's reflecting the psychic visions that those with the shine see in their dreams, but also the iconic jazzy music of the Gold Room in The Shining. Then there's this woman, who I think is actress Alex Esso, credited as playing Dan's mother, Wendy Torrance, played by Shelley Duvall in the original. A fly crawls over her eye. This could be a ghostly presence of Wendy haunting Dan, similar to the bent neck lady ghost of Haunting of Hill House. And then that female character from before leaves the cinema showing Casablanca. Remember last year, Ready Player One actually restaged the Overlook Hotel in the best sequence of the film, which the characters access through a cinema, just like this one. So it just looks like cinematic references will be all over this film. On to the next part. Okay, another creepy shot of Abra with someone else's hand wrapping around her head, and a quick sting of the famous Grady twins from the Overlook, and then a shot of the True Knot member with a syringe for their victim, and then Abra using her shine on her father, it looks like, perhaps projecting an image in his mind. Rose the Hat screams in anger, and then awesome shot, Dan's room surreally tilts, sliding him down to that chalk wall, which in addition to murder, also shows the word baseball, maybe a nod to the baseball bat that Wendy used on Jack. Moving on. Here, Danny returns to the Overlook Hotel, specifically their family suite, where Jack tried to chop his way into the bathroom door, the door where Danny wrote Red Rum. Dan even sticks his head into the hole, recreating the iconic Here's Johnny shot. And he also hears a cacophony of whispers, suggesting we might see the return of the ghosts who haunt this hotel, like Horace Derwent. And it sounds like Dick Halloran will return in this movie in some form, now played by actor Carl Lumbly. The Dr. Sleep title appears with one final Shining homage, the amazing synth score that was composed by Wendy Carlos and Rachel Elkind. Comment down below with your thoughts on this trailer, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Erik Voss, and subscribe to New Rockstars for more breakdowns of all the scary stuff that you love. Thank you for watching, and I've been dead for 60 years!